Imagine a man standing in a group of people, his words barely acknowledged, his presence hardly noticed. He speaks, but his voice blends into the background noise. Nobody turns to listen, nobody asks for his opinion. In that moment, he feels invisible, unimportant. Many live like this without realizing why. They crave respect, admiration, influence, but they never take the time to understand one truth. Respect cannot be demanded, it must be earned. Value is not given freely by the world. It is traded for something greater, your actions, your character, your discipline. The reality is simple yet harsh. People do not respect neediness. They respect strength. They do not value someone simply because he wants to be valued. They value what is rare, what is hard to find, what improves their lives. If you bring nothing to the table, no wisdom, no skill, no calm presence, why would anyone treat you as someone significant? You cannot force people to see you as valuable if you have not done the work to become so. That's the first lesson, and it's a bitter one for those who believe that respect should be automatic. Every man wants to feel important. Every man wants to enter a room and command attention without saying a word. But here's the truth, that power is not about arrogance, money, or appearance alone. It comes from an internal foundation built through consistent effort. You cannot fake value for long. Sooner or later, people see through illusions. Real value shows itself in moments of pressure, in silence, in action, not in begging for attention. If you spend your life chasing validation instead of becoming the type of person who naturally earns it, you will always feel empty, always feel ignored. Think about the man who is overlooked in the beginning of our visual. Why is he ignored? Not because people are cruel, but because in that state, he offers nothing that stands out. He is just another voice in a crowd, another ordinary person with no gravity. Then, something changes. Time passes, and he transforms. He invests in himself. He builds discipline. He develops skills. He sharpens his mind and his body. He becomes reliable, calm, and confident. Slowly, without trying to impress anyone, people start noticing. They start listening. They seek his opinion. They trust his judgment. Why? Because he has become valuable. Value is earned in silence, in private moments when no one is watching. It is earned in the gym when you train even when you don't feel like it. It is earned when you pick up the book instead of wasting hours on meaningless entertainment. It is earned when you deliver on your promises consistently, when you hold yourself to a higher standard than most are willing to follow. It is not glamorous work. Nobody applauds you when you wake up early or study late. But every small choice compounds into something undeniable: presence, competence, strength. And when those qualities shine through, people cannot ignore you, even if they want to. The voiceover says, if you want to be valued, you must first become valuable. This is not a motivational phrase. It is a law of life. People respect what improves their world, what inspires them, what they can learn from. If you make excuses, blame others, and wait for recognition, you will remain invisible. But if you build yourself into someone disciplined, knowledgeable, and composed, the respect you once chased will start chasing you. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's the natural result of becoming a person of substance. The problem with most people is that they confuse attention with value. They think being loud, flashy, or controversial makes them important. But attention fades quickly. One day, the crowd cheers. The next day, they forget. True value is different. It does not depend on trends or approval. It is rooted in competence, character, and contribution. A man of value does not need to shout to be heard. His results speak for him. His energy speaks before his words do. People sense strength when it's real. They feel stability when it's present. And in a world full of noise, that calm power is magnetic. So how do you start becoming valuable? First, you must drop the illusion that the world owes you respect. It doesn't. You owe it to yourself to earn it. Stop demanding recognition for doing the bare minimum. Stop waiting for others to validate you before you act. Start by mastering the basics: your body, your mind, your word. Train until strength becomes natural. Read until wisdom flows in your conversations. Build habits so consistent that people know they can rely on you without question. When you become that man, the one who delivers, the one who stays calm under pressure, the one who knows his worth without flaunting it, you will not need to ask for value. It will surround you. The man in the opening visual went from being ignored to being respected because he chose to transform himself. That is the only way. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control who you become. And when you become someone of undeniable value, the world responds. Doors open. Opportunities find you. People listen. But it all begins with one decision. Stop asking for respect. Start earning it. Every day, through discipline, through effort, through consistency. Ask yourself this. Do you want to be the man who complains about being overlooked, or the man who commands respect without saying a word? Do you want to live in the shadow of others, or do you want to stand in your own light? The choice is yours, and the path is clear. If you want to be valued, you must first become valuable. Not tomorrow, not when life gets easier. Now, in this moment, because the world doesn't wait for anyone, and neither should you. A man sits at a table surrounded by others. The room is full of noise, people talking over each other, everyone trying to sound important. But he remains silent, calm, almost detached. He listens, he observes, and when he finally speaks, the room falls quiet. Not because he raised his voice, not because he demanded attention, but because his words carry weight. Every sentence he speaks feels deliberate, measured, and powerful. That is mastery of the word. That is influence without shouting. That is what separates a man who commands respect from one who simply craves it. In a world addicted to noise, silence is rare, and rare things hold value. Most people talk endlessly, trying to impress, trying to prove themselves. They believe the more they say, the more important they seem. But the truth is the opposite. Words lose their power when they are used carelessly. Like currency, the more you flood the market, the less each unit is worth. This is why the loudest man in the room is rarely the most respected. He may attract attention, but attention is not the same as influence. True power comes from restraint, knowing when to speak, and, more importantly, when to remain silent. Mastering your words starts with understanding that your voice is an instrument, not a noise machine. Every time you speak, you send a signal about who you are, your confidence, your intelligence, your self-control. A man who talks too much, who fills silence out of insecurity, signals weakness. He reveals his need for validation in every unnecessary sentence. But a man who speaks with purpose, who weighs his words before releasing them, signals strength. His silence communicates self-assurance. His brevity commands attention. People lean in because they know that when he speaks, it matters. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. They practiced the art of saying little but meaning much. Epictetus once said, "Be silent, or let your words be worth more than silence." That is the standard you must hold yourself to. If your words do not add value, they subtract it. Every sentence should serve a purpose, inform, inspire, lead. Anything else is noise. When you master this principle, you separate yourself from the crowd, because most people cannot control their tongues. They overshare, they gossip, they brag, they lie to impress. And in doing so, they destroy their credibility. Consider the difference between the man who speaks recklessly and the man who speaks with precision. The first one gives promises he cannot keep. He says yes to everything because he fears disappointing others. He flatters, he exaggerates, he manipulates. And eventually, nobody trusts him because his word means nothing. But the second man, the man of few words, when he says yes, it means something. When he commits, people believe him. His reputation becomes his shield. Others know that if he speaks, he will act. That level of trust is rare, and it is earned through discipline over the tongue. Mastery of the word is not only about speaking less. It is about aligning your words with truth and action. Do not speak to impress. Speak to express something real. If you promise, deliver. If you declare something, stand by it. Inconsistency kills respect faster than silence ever could. People remember broken promises. They remember when your words lacked weight because your actions didn't match. That is why the most powerful men rarely promise anything. They show results. They let actions speak, and when they add words, those words become undeniable. To achieve this level of control, you must train your mind to resist the urge to fill silence. Silence is uncomfortable for many because they fear irrelevance. But silence is power when you own it. Learn to pause before responding. Think before speaking. Ask yourself, does this add value? Does this need to be said? Is it better than silence? Most of the time, the answer will be no. And that's okay. Every time you choose restraint, you build your aura. People will start to notice that you are not like everyone else who blurts out the first thing that comes to mind. You speak with purpose. That makes you rare, and rare is valuable. This also applies to conflict. Weak men argue endlessly, trying to win with words. Strong men choose their battles. They do not waste energy proving themselves to those who don't matter. They understand that the loudest argument often comes from the weakest position. When someone tries to provoke you, the most powerful response is calm silence or a short, decisive statement. Nothing signals strength like emotional control. When others lose themselves in anger, and you remain composed, you dominate without effort. You become the immovable force in the room. In relationships, mastering your word builds trust and attraction. In business, it earns respect. In leadership, it creates loyalty. Why? Because people follow certainty. They follow those who seem grounded and deliberate. When your words are measured, others feel safe in your presence. They know you are not impulsive, not reckless, not easily swayed by emotion. You become a man of principle, and principles are magnetic in a world full of instability. But this mastery requires humility. You must admit that not everything you think needs to be spoken. You must accept that listening often creates more power than talking. Listening is not passive, it is active strategy. When you listen, you learn. You gather information others miss. You understand the people around you better than they understand you. That gives you leverage in conversations, negotiations, and relationships. The less you reveal and the more you absorb, the stronger your position becomes. There is another dimension to mastering your word, tone, and presence. Power is not only in what you say, but how you say it. Speak slowly. Speak clearly. Eliminate filler words, like, you know. These are signs of uncertainty, and uncertainty kills authority. Use pauses to let your words breathe. When you pause, people lean in. They feel the weight of what is coming next. Do not rush. Do not compete for attention. Let others waste energy speaking over each other while you control the tempo. Silence between your words is like a weapon. It creates anticipation. Finally, understand this. Words are energy. They build or destroy. They create loyalty or resentment. They open doors or close them forever. Every careless insult, every empty promise, every unnecessary brag chips away at your value. But every word spoken with intention, every truth delivered with calm certainty, builds a reputation that outlasts time. That is why mastering your word is not just a social skill, it is a life skill. It shapes how others perceive you, how much they trust you, and how far you rise in life. So, ask yourself, do your words carry weight, or are they just noise? Do people listen when you speak, or do they hear you the same way they hear everyone else? If the answer is the latter, change it. Start today. Speak less. Mean more. Let silence be your ally and precision your weapon. Make every sentence count. Because in the end, your word is not just sound, it is your signature. And the man who masters his word does not beg for respect. He commands it without saying much at all. He sits in the middle of a crowded room, voices rising all around him. Someone throws an insult his way, sharp and deliberate, hoping to provoke a reaction. Eyes turn to him, waiting for the explosion, the comeback, the storm. But nothing comes. He looks up slowly, calm, unshaken, as if the insult slid through thin air without touching him. He smiles faintly, nods, and continues what he was doing. No anger, no defense, no loss of control. And in that moment, something shifts. The one who tried to dominate him feels small. The crowd feels his strength, not in force, not in words, but in restraint. That is the power of emotional control. In a world where most people are slaves to their emotions, the one who masters his emotions becomes extraordinary. Look around. People lash out over tweets, explode in traffic, lose themselves in arguments that don't matter. They react instantly, thoughtlessly, to every provocation. Their moods are like a storm, unpredictable, chaotic, destructive. And because of that, they give away their power without even realizing it. When you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of yourself. And when you lose control of yourself, you give control to someone else. Whoever can make you angry owns you. Whoever can make you jealous owns you. Whoever can make you desperate owns you. Think about that for a second. If someone can trigger you with a few words, you are not free. You are their puppet. They pull the strings and you dance. But the man who cannot be provoked, the man who remains calm when others are losing their minds, becomes untouchable. That man radiates strength, because strength is not in shouting the loudest or striking the hardest. Strength is in composure. Strength is in silence when silence serves you better than words. Strength is in staying grounded when the ground is shaking under everyone else's feet. Why is emotional control so powerful? Because it is rare. We live in an age of overreaction, where outrage is currency and drama is entertainment. People broadcast their emotions to the world, hoping for sympathy, validation, attention. But the more you expose your emotions recklessly, the more you dilute your value. Everyone can see your weaknesses, your triggers, your insecurities. They know exactly how to manipulate you. They know which buttons to press. That is why emotional control is not just a virtue, it is a shield. It protects your mind from being hijacked by the chaos of the world. Emotional control does not mean feeling nothing. It means feeling everything but choosing your response. It means having the discipline to pause between stimulus and reaction. That pause is where freedom lives. In that pause, you decide, do I react like everyone else, or do I rise above? Do I let anger control me, or do I control it? That small space is where power is born. Most people never find that space because they live in autopilot. Someone insults them, they attack back. Someone disagrees, they argue. Someone ignores them, they beg for attention. Their emotions run the show. But when you master that space, when you extend that pause, you take back control. Consider this. Every major mistake in your life likely happened when you were emotional. You said something in anger you couldn't take back. You made a decision out of fear that cost you dearly. You chased someone out of desperation and ended up humiliated. Emotional reactions shrink your perspective. They blind you to long-term consequences. They trap you in the heat of the moment. And in that heat, you burn bridges, destroy opportunities, ruin relationships. That is why leaders who rise above the crowd are masters of composure. They don't let temporary emotions sabotage permanent goals. Now imagine the opposite. A man who cannot control his emotions. He gets offended easily. He explodes in anger at small things. He becomes jealous at every glance. He complains, cries for attention, sulks when things don't go his way. Do you think anyone respects that man? Do you think women admire him? Do you think people want to follow him? No. They see weakness. They see instability. They know he can't handle pressure, and that makes him unreliable. In relationships, this man becomes controlling and insecure. In business, he becomes impulsive and reckless. Everywhere he goes, he destroys his own value because his emotions own him. Now picture a man who controls himself completely. He moves through life like water, calm on the surface, deep beneath. He doesn't rise to every insult. He doesn't break under stress. He doesn't need to prove himself to anyone. When people attack him, he stays grounded. When life throws chaos his way, he adapts without panic. That man becomes magnetic. People trust him because he is predictable in a world of volatility. Women admire him because he radiates security. Men respect him because he embodies strength without arrogance. He becomes the eye of the storm, the calm center others cling to when everything else is falling apart. How do you become that man? It starts with awareness. You cannot control what you do not notice. Start observing your emotional triggers. What makes you angry? What makes you anxious? What makes you jealous or desperate? Write them down. Then ask, why does this control me? Most of the time, emotional reactions come from ego, from the need to protect an image, from fear of loss, from insecurity. When someone insults you and you explode, it's because you feel threatened. When someone ignores you and you chase, it's because you feel unworthy. The emotion is not the problem. Your attachment to it is. Detach, and you gain power. The second step is to create space. When the emotion rises, don't fight it, and don't obey it. Just notice it. Breathe. Count to 3 before you respond. That small delay rewires your brain. It breaks the chain of impulsive reaction. Over time, this pause becomes your greatest weapon. Because in that pause, you remember who you are. You remember your mission. You remember that most things are noise, not war. You stop giving power to people who don't deserve it. You stop bleeding energy on battles that don't matter. Third, control your environment. If you are surrounded by chaos, your emotions will constantly be under attack. Reduce unnecessary drama. Stop engaging with toxic people who feed on triggering others. Cut the sources of negativity, social media arguments, pointless debates, gossip. Fill your mind with things that elevate you instead of things that drain you. When your environment supports calmness, self-control becomes easier. Finally, practice stoic detachment. Remind yourself daily, I control only my thoughts and actions. Nothing else belongs to me. You cannot control what others say. You cannot control what others think. You cannot control every outcome, but you can always control yourself. That is ultimate freedom, and freedom is rare, and rare things are valuable. When you live by this principle, insults lose power. Rejection loses power. Failure loses power. Because none of these things touch the core of who you are. They come and go like weather, and you remain the mountain, unshaken, unmoved, unbroken. He is alone in a dimly lit room, long after the world has gone to sleep. The clock ticks past midnight, but his hands keep moving. Books open, notes scattered, tools laid out across the table. While others scroll aimlessly through their phones or waste hours in meaningless conversations, he is sharpening his craft. Night after night, he builds something most people will never see coming: competence. Competence is the ultimate currency in a world full of mediocrity. Everyone talks, everyone wants, everyone dreams, but very few people do the work to become exceptional. The truth is simple. If you want to be valued, you must make yourself rare. And rarity comes from skill, from mastery, from the relentless pursuit of improvement when nobody is watching. Think about the people who command respect effortlessly. The men and women others admire, follow, and even envy. Do you think they begged for attention? Do you think they bought admiration with empty words? No, they earned it. They earned it by becoming so good at what they do that the world could not ignore them. The musician who plays like every note is part of his soul. The surgeon who performs with flawless precision. The leader who speaks and moves armies with words. These people became valuable because they built competence. Most people don't understand this. They chase validation instead of value. They want praise before they deserve it. They want results without process, rewards without struggle. They spend their days comparing themselves to others instead of working on themselves. And then they wonder why no one takes them seriously, why no one listens, why no one chooses them. The answer is brutal, because they bring nothing unique to the table. They are replaceable, and in life, the replaceable are forgotten. If you want to be valued, you must stop being ordinary. You must stop blending into the background of mediocrity. You must create leverage, and leverage comes from competence. The man who can solve problems nobody else can solve is indispensable. The woman who can create beauty out of chaos becomes unforgettable. The leader who makes things happen when others hesitate becomes legendary. Competence gives you options. Competence gives you power. Competence gives you freedom. Now let's break this down. What is competence? It's not just being good. It's being exceptional at something that matters. It's being so skilled that people look at you and think, how does he do that? It's mastery, and mastery does not happen by accident. Mastery requires obsession. It requires discipline. It requires the willingness to do what 99% of people are too lazy, too distracted, or too weak to do. When others quit after an hour, you stay for 2. When others get bored, you go deeper. When others take shortcuts, you take the long road because you know the long road builds strength. Competence is forged in the fire of repetition, in the grind no one applauds, in the silence no one notices. You want people to notice you? Earn it in the darkness. Earn it when no one is cheering. Earn it when the only voice telling you to keep going is your own. And here is the truth. Competence makes you magnetic. It changes how people see you. When you walk into a room with rare skills, you don't need to beg for respect. It comes to you. You don't need to prove your worth. It's obvious. You don't need to chase opportunities. They chase you. People pay attention to competence because competence solves problems, and everyone needs problems solved. If you can do what few can do, you will never be ignored. But let's go deeper. Competence doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. It gives you confidence that cannot be faked. Fake confidence is loud. It's the guy bragging in the corner, trying to convince the world he matters. Real confidence is silent. It comes from knowing you've put in the work, knowing you can deliver when it counts, knowing you've paid the price for mastery. That confidence follows you everywhere, in business, in relationships, in life. People can feel it, and they respect it because it's real. So how do you build competence? Start with this: choose your craft. You cannot master everything. So focus on something that matters, something that aligns with your purpose, something the world values, something you can obsess over for years without boredom. Once you find it, go all in. Commit. Stop dabbling. Stop being average at 10 things. Be extraordinary at 1. Then, build your foundation. Read every book on the subject. Watch every lecture. Study the masters who came before you. Don't just copy, understand. Don't just memorize, internalize. And then, practice. Practice until your body knows what your mind cannot explain. Practice until you can perform under pressure, until you can execute flawlessly when it counts. And here's a secret: the difference between good and great is hours. The difference between great and world-class is decades. Most people will never get there because they quit too soon. They think, "I've been doing this for 6 months, where are my results?" And then they give up. But mastery is not 6 months. It's 6 years, 10 years, maybe more. It's a lifetime. And if that sounds like too much, then accept being average, because greatness does not come cheap. You might ask, but what if I fail? You will fail, over and over, and that is part of the process. Failure is not the opposite of competence. It is the path to competence. Every mistake is a lesson carved into your mind. Every setback is a step forward if you keep moving. The only true failure is quitting. As long as you stay in the game, you are learning, and as long as you are learning, you are winning. Now let's talk about the payoff. When you become competent, truly competent, you enter a different world. Opportunities appear where none existed before. Doors open that were once locked. People seek you out because you have what they need. And the beauty of competence is that it compounds. The more you know, the faster you learn. The better you get, the easier it becomes to get even better. One day, you wake up and realize you are no longer chasing value. You are value. But competence is not just technical. It's mental. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the ability to stay focused when distractions pull at you from every direction. It's the ability to persist when progress feels invisible. It's the ability to trust the process when results seem far away. That mindset is rare, and that rarity makes you unstoppable. So tonight, while the world sleeps, ask yourself, what am I building? What skill am I mastering? What value am I creating that no one can take away from me? Because the truth is brutal. If you are not getting better, you are getting worse. If you are not sharpening your sword, it is getting dull. If you are not moving forward, you are falling behind. Time does not stop, and neither does the competition. The man who commits to mastery becomes dangerous. Not dangerous in a violent way, but dangerous because he cannot be ignored. Dangerous because he is rare. Dangerous because when the world looks for someone who can deliver, they think of him first. That is the power of competence. It is not given. It is earned, one late night, one early morning, one relentless hour at a time. He sits alone at a quiet table in a crowded cafe. Laughter echoes from nearby. Conversations overlap, and the constant hum of voices fills the air. Across the room, someone waves at him, an invitation to join a group. But he doesn't move. Not because he isn't social, not because he's shy, but because something about it feels wrong. Forced, fake, not aligned with who he is. He smiles politely, nods, and returns to his book. That single act, refusing what doesn't match his values, is more powerful than chasing what does not belong. This is what keeping your standards high looks like. It's not arrogance. It's not pride. It's self-respect in action. It's the quiet strength of knowing who you are and what you deserve, and refusing to compromise for cheap validation or temporary pleasure. Because here's the truth most people ignore. When you lower your standards for attention, approval, or love, you pay with something far more expensive: your dignity. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, it's easy to fall into the trap of settling. Settling for relationships that don't inspire you. Settling for jobs that drain your soul. Settling for friends who don't respect you. Why? Because waiting is hard. Because walking away feels lonely. Because society teaches us that something, anything, is better than nothing. But that is a lie. Nothing is better than something that poisons your spirit. Silence is better than fake laughter. Solitude is better than company that drains you. When you keep your standards high, you send a message, not just to others, but to yourself. I am worth more than scraps. And that message shapes your reality. Because people treat you based on the boundaries you enforce, not the ones you talk about. If you say you want respect but accept disrespect, guess what you'll get? Disrespect. If you say you value loyalty but keep people who betray you, guess what you'll attract? More betrayal. Keeping your standards high is not about being rigid or unrealistic. It's not about thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about alignment. It's about choosing what feeds your growth and rejecting what stunts it. It's about refusing to dilute your values for temporary comfort. It's about saying no to what doesn't serve you, even when it feels easier to say yes. That takes strength. That takes courage. And most people don't have it, which is why those who do stand out. Think about the most respected people in history. Leaders, philosophers, visionaries. They all had one thing in common. They refused to compromise their principles for convenience. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, surrounded by power and temptation, chose discipline over indulgence. Why? Because he understood a simple truth. Once you start lowering your standards, you start losing yourself. Every small compromise chips away at your identity until one day you wake up and realize you've become someone you don't even recognize. This is what happens when you accept disrespect. The first time, you tell yourself it's not a big deal. The second time, you stay quiet because you don't want conflict. The third time, it becomes normal. And just like that, your silence becomes permission. Your tolerance becomes weakness. And before you know it, people treat you like you have no worth, because you showed them you don't value yourself enough to walk away. When you keep your standards high, you do something most people are afraid to do. You walk away from what doesn't deserve you. That might mean ending a friendship you've had for years because it's toxic. It might mean leaving a relationship that no longer aligns with your values. It might mean quitting a job that suffocates your soul. Walking away is hard, yes, but it's also powerful. Because every time you walk away from less, you make room for more. More respect, more love, more opportunities that align with your worth. And let's be clear, keeping your standards high will cost you. It will cost you temporary comfort. It will cost you fake friends. It will cost you situations that make you feel good for a moment, but empty in the long run. But that price is nothing compared to the cost of lowering them. Lower your standards, and you pay with regret. You pay with wasted years. You pay with a life that doesn't look anything like the one you wanted. When you refuse cheap attention, you elevate your value. When you ignore disrespect, you protect your peace. When you choose quality over quantity, you build a life that feels right instead of one that just looks good. That's what high standards do. They filter out the noise so you can focus on what truly matters. But here's the key. Keeping your standards high is not about demanding perfection from others while giving nothing yourself. It starts with you. If you want respect, respect yourself. If you want loyalty, be loyal. If you want quality, become quality. Your standards for others should never exceed the standards you hold for yourself. Otherwise, it's hypocrisy. So how do you live this out? It starts with clarity. Define what matters to you. What do you value? Honesty? Loyalty? Growth? Write it down. Then, commit to living by those values, no exceptions. The next time someone crosses a line, don't stay silent. The next time you're offered something that feels wrong, say no. The next time loneliness tempts you to settle for someone who doesn't respect you, remind yourself, better alone than in bad company. And here's the truth, the world tests you. Every day, it will throw distractions, temptations, and low-quality opportunities at your feet. Say yes to enough of them, and you'll build a life you hate. Say no to them, and you'll build a life that commands respect. The choice is yours. Every no you say to something beneath you is a yes to something better in the future. Every boundary you enforce sends a signal, I know my worth. And people notice. The right people will respect you. The wrong people will leave. Let them. Their absence creates space for those who belong. Keeping your standards high will feel lonely at times. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're asking for too much. But remember this, people with low standards have company, but it's the wrong company. People with high standards have solitude at first, but eventually, they attract quality. Because like attracts like. Mediocrity attracts mediocrity. Strength attracts strength. So never apologize for your standards. Never lower them to make others comfortable. Never betray your values for validation. Because the moment you do, you teach the world that your worth is negotiable. And nothing destroys respect faster than that. Keeping your standards high is not easy, but it is necessary. Necessary if you want respect. Necessary if you want peace. Necessary if you want a life that feels right. The alternative? A life of compromise, regret, and quiet misery. Don't choose that. Choose strength. Choose dignity. Choose to walk away from anything that insults your soul. Because here's the final truth. When you respect yourself, the world follows. People take their cues from you. If you act like you're worth little, they'll treat you like you're worth little. If you act like you're priceless, they'll think twice before crossing you. So raise your standards. Guard your boundaries. Protect your peace. Because your life becomes what you tolerate, and you deserve more than average. He wakes up before the sun, not because anyone is watching, not because someone will reward him, but because he promised himself he would. The alarm rings, and he gets up, every single time. No excuses, no delays. Why? Because reliability is not about what you do when it's convenient. It's about what you do when no one is looking. That's the foundation of trust. And trust is the currency of real power. People underestimate how rare consistency is in today's world. Everyone talks. Everyone makes promises. Everyone says they'll do something, but few deliver. And that's why reliability stands out like a diamond in a sea of dust. If you want to be valued, respected, and indispensable, become the person who always follows through, on time, every time. Because reliability is not flashy. It's not loud, but it's magnetic. People gravitate toward those they can count on. Because in a world full of uncertainty, stability is priceless. Think about the people you trust most. Why do you trust them? It's not because they're perfect. It's because when they say they'll do something, they do it. When they make a commitment, they honor it. When life gets hard, they show up anyway. That's reliability. And it's more powerful than charm, talent, or even intelligence. Why? Because talent without consistency is wasted potential. Intelligence without reliability is just empty theory. But consistency? Consistency wins every single time. Reliability is not built overnight. It's forged in the small choices, the ones no one applauds you for. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing that project before the deadline. Showing up on time, even when you'd rather stay in bed. These are not glamorous actions, but they build a reputation that money can't buy. Because when people know they can count on you, you become rare. And rarity creates value. But here's the hard truth. Most people fail at consistency because they think motivation is enough. They rely on feelings. They wait for the mood to strike. They want to feel like it before they act. That's why they fail. Reliability has nothing to do with feelings. It has everything to do with discipline. Discipline is doing what you said you would do, long after the mood you made the promise and has left you. That's the test. Anyone can keep a promise when it's easy. Reliability is proven when it's hard. Imagine two people starting a project together. At first, both are excited. Both are motivated. Both are committed on day one. But fast forward 6 months. One is still showing up, still delivering, still keeping promises. The other? Excuses, delays, missed deadlines. Which one earns respect? Which one becomes trusted? Which one becomes indispensable? The reliable one. Because reliability creates confidence in others. People need to know that when they hand you something important, you won't drop it. That confidence makes you valuable in every area of life: business, friendships, relationships. In relationships, reliability builds security. It means showing up when you said you would. It means keeping your word, even in the smallest things. When you cancel plans last minute, when you say you'll call and you don't, when you break little promises, you weaken trust. And trust is fragile. It takes years to build and seconds to destroy. That's why reliable people are so respected. They protect that trust like it's sacred, because it is. In business, reliability is a superpower. Most people think success comes from big, dramatic moves. It doesn't. Success comes from doing the small things, consistently, over time. It comes from meeting deadlines. From delivering quality work, every single time. From being the person others never have to worry about. If you become that person, doors will open for you that talent alone could never unlock. People will seek you out. They will fight to keep you. Because reliable people are rare, and rarity is value. But let's go deeper. Why is reliability so powerful? Because it signals strength. It shows that you can be trusted under pressure. That you don't break when things get hard. That your word means something. And in a world where most people talk big but deliver little, that kind of integrity makes you stand out like a beacon. It tells the world, if I say it, I mean it. If I promise, I deliver. That's real power. Now let's be real. Reliability is not easy. It means saying no when you'd rather say yes. It means doing things when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you don't feel like it. It means pushing through discomfort because your word matters more than your feelings. And most people can't do that. They're slaves to their emotions. They follow convenience, not commitment. But you? If you want to be valued, if you want to be respected, you must rise above that. So how do you build reliability? Start with small promises. Not to others, first to yourself. Because if you can't keep promises to yourself, you'll never keep them to anyone else. Say you'll wake up at 6 a.m. Do it. Say you'll go to the gym 3 times this week. Do it. Say you'll finish that task before lunch. Do it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of reliability. Because when you respect yourself, you don't tolerate excuses. You don't allow laziness to win. You honor your word. Then, extend that reliability to others. Don't overpromise. Don't commit to what you can't deliver. Underpromise and overdeliver. Let your actions speak louder than your words. If you say, I'll be there, be there. Not 10 minutes late. Not with excuses. Be there, on time, prepared, consistent. Do this enough times, and your name will become synonymous with trust. People will associate you with excellence. And that kind of reputation, it's worth more than any title, any degree, any resume. Here's something most people don't understand. Reliability makes you powerful because it makes you predictable in the best way. In a chaotic world, predictability is calming. It creates certainty. It makes people feel safe. And people are drawn to safety. They will follow the person who provides it. That's why reliability is not just a virtue, it's a strategy. It's how you build influence without even trying. But be warned, reliability takes time to build and seconds to destroy. One broken promise can undo years of trust. That's why you must guard your commitments carefully. Don't say yes to everything. Don't stretch yourself so thin that you can't deliver. Reliability is not about doing everything for everyone. It's about doing what you said you would do, consistently, without fail. Better to say no up front than to say yes and fail later. He stands there, alone, while the crowd moves in the opposite direction. They laugh, they shout, they point fingers, but he does not move. His eyes are calm, his posture unshaken. Why? Because he lives by principles, not approval. Most people can't do this. Most people spend their lives chasing acceptance, bending their values, and selling pieces of themselves for validation. They want to be liked, to fit in, to be seen as good in the eyes of others. And in the process, they lose themselves. They sacrifice integrity for applause. They trade character for convenience. But here's the truth. Every time you live for approval, you give away your power. Approval is a drug, and like any drug, it makes you dependent. The moment you base your decisions on what others think, you stop living your life, you start living theirs. You become a puppet, and the strings are opinions, trends, and expectations. Today they cheer, tomorrow they boo, and you bend to both. That is not strength. That is weakness disguised as popularity. But principles? Principles are different. Principles are the solid ground beneath your feet when the world shakes. They are the compass when the crowd loses its way. They are the quiet voice inside that says, this is right, even when everyone else says, you're wrong. Living by principles means you act according to truth, not trends. You choose what is right, not what is easy. And that is rare. That is powerful. Value comes from integrity, and integrity is living in alignment with your principles even when it costs you. Especially when it costs you. Anyone can stick to their values when it's comfortable. The real test is when standing alone means losing approval, losing friends, losing opportunities. That's when most people fold. That's when the world sees what you're really made of. Why does this matter? Because people respect strength. They admire those who stand firm when everyone else bows. They may hate you in the moment, they may criticize you, but deep down, they envy you. Because independence is attractive. Conviction is magnetic. When you don't need their approval, you gain their respect, even from those who disagree with you. Look at history. The people remembered, the people admired, were not the ones who followed the crowd. They were the ones who stood against it. They were the ones who said, this is my line. I will not cross it. They were mocked, ridiculed, even hated, but they changed the world. Why? Because principles outlast popularity. Approval fades. Integrity endures. But let's be real. Living by principles is not easy. It requires courage. The kind of courage most people never develop because they've spent their whole lives seeking validation. From childhood, we're trained to crave approval. Gold stars in school, likes on social media, compliments from friends. We're told to fit in, to play it safe, to be normal. And then we wonder why so many people feel lost, anxious, and empty. They've been living for others, not for themselves. When you break free from this cycle, when you stop chasing applause and start living by principles, everything changes. You stop feeling anxious about what people think because you're rooted in something deeper. You stop comparing yourself to others because you know who you are and what you stand for. You stop being tossed around by trends, opinions, and gossip because your foundation is unshakable. Living by principles means you choose honesty even when lying would be easier. It means you refuse shortcuts even when no one would know. It means you keep your word even when it costs you time, money, or comfort. These are not glamorous choices. No one throws a parade when you choose integrity over convenience. But these choices shape your character. They define your value. And eventually, the world notices. Here's the paradox. The less you seek approval, the more respect you earn. Why? Because people can sense authenticity. They can sense when you're real. And nothing is more powerful than a person who is truly themselves. Unapologetically, unshakably. Most people wear masks. They hide who they are to be liked. They say what others want to hear. But masks are heavy. They fall eventually. And when they do, trust breaks. When you live by principles, you don't need masks. You don't need to fake anything because you are grounded in truth. That truth gives you strength. It makes your presence commanding. People know where you stand, and that certainty draws them in. They may not always agree with you, but they will respect you. Because deep down, everyone craves that kind of courage, even if they don't have it themselves. So how do you start living this way? First, you must decide what you stand for. What are your non-negotiables? What values matter to you more than approval, more than comfort, more than popularity? Honesty, discipline, loyalty, courage? Write them down. Make them real. Because if you don't know your principles, you'll adopt someone else's. And that's how people lose themselves. They never take the time to define themselves. Once you know your principles, you have to protect them, ruthlessly. Because the world will test you. People will pressure you. They'll tempt you with shortcuts, lure you with comfort, seduce you with acceptance. And in those moments, your integrity will be on the line. If you give in, you lose more than a principle. You lose respect for yourself. And once that's gone, nothing external can replace it. Does this mean you'll be lonely sometimes? Yes. Does it mean people will criticize you? Yes. But here's the truth. You will never be truly happy trying to please everyone. Because no matter what you do, someone will disapprove. Someone will hate. Someone will talk. So why waste your life chasing approval from people who don't even know themselves? Why trade your soul for their applause? When you stop living for approval, you become free. Free from the fear of judgment. Free from the need to fit in. Free from the constant anxiety of what will they think. And in that freedom, you find strength. You find peace. You find yourself. That's why living by principles is not just about being respected by others. It's about being at peace with yourself. Imagine this. You're old, looking back on your life. Do you want to remember a life where you bent every time someone disapproved? Where you changed who you were just to fit in? Or do you want to remember a life where you stood firm, where you lived true, where you honored your values no matter the cost? That's the choice you make today. Every time you choose approval over integrity, you betray yourself. Every time you choose principles over popularity, you build yourself. In the end, your value doesn't come from how many people like you. It comes from how much you respect yourself. Because when you respect yourself, the right people will respect you too. Not everyone, but the ones who matter. The ones who value strength, authenticity, and character. Those are the people worth having in your life. The rest? Let them go. So live by principles, not approval. Be the person who stands when others bow. Be the one who walks alone when the crowd loses its way. Because the world doesn't need more people who fit in. It needs more people who stand out. People who refuse to sell their soul for acceptance. People who live with courage, integrity, and truth. Be that person. and watch how your life transforms. Not because you chased value, but because you became it. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. These words from Marcus Aurelius cut through the noise of excuses, debates, and endless talk. They are a call to action, a reminder that value is not something you beg for, argue for, or demand. Value is something you become. Most people misunderstand value. They think it's something given to them by others. They believe respect, admiration, and recognition are handed out like gifts, and all they need to do is ask for them. But that's an illusion. Respect is never given freely. It is earned. And it is earned through action, through discipline, through who you are when no one is watching. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They believed that the foundation of a good life is control over the self. Not over others, not over circumstances, but over your own mind and actions. And this is where true value begins. Not in convincing others of your worth, but in living in such a way that your worth is undeniable. Look around today. Everyone wants recognition. Everyone wants to feel important. Social media is filled with people shouting for attention, trying to prove their value through likes, followers, and praise. But all of that is shallow. It's temporary. It doesn't last because it's based on external validation. And external validation is like a drug. The more you get, the more you need. It never satisfies. The Stoic path is different. It says, stop seeking. Stop begging. Stop performing for applause. Instead, focus on building yourself. Focus on living with virtue, strength, and purpose. That is where real value comes from. Because value that comes from within cannot be taken away by anyone else. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste his time debating what virtue was. He practiced it. He didn't demand that others recognize him as wise or strong. He became wise and strong through his choices. This is the essence of the quote. Stop arguing, start becoming. Because the world doesn't reward those who talk about what they should be. It rewards those who become what they should be. So what does it mean to create your own value? It starts with mastery of self. Most people are slaves to impulses, distractions, and emotions. They react to everything, get triggered by everything, and live without direction. That is weakness, and weakness is never respected. Strength, on the other hand, strength of mind, strength of character, strength of purpose, is magnetic. It draws people in because it is so rare. Creating value means setting standards for yourself and living by them every day. It means developing skills that make you competent, useful, and capable. It means living with discipline when others live in chaos. It means speaking the truth when it would be easier to lie. It means doing the hard thing when everyone else is looking for shortcuts. This is how you become valuable, not through words, but through deeds. And here's the truth. This process is not glamorous. It's not instant. It's not easy. It requires long hours of work when no one is watching. It requires sacrifices that others won't make. It requires patience in a world addicted to speed. But the reward is something no one can take from you, self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of all external respect. Why? Because people sense it. They feel it. A man who respects himself moves differently. He speaks differently. He carries himself with quiet confidence because he knows who he is. He doesn't need to brag. He doesn't need to beg. He doesn't need to prove anything because his life proves it for him. That is power. And that power starts with living by principles, not chasing approval. The Stoics teach us that value is rooted in virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are not trendy words. These are eternal principles. Imagine what happens when you embody them. When you act with wisdom instead of ignorance. When you choose courage instead of fear. When you treat others with fairness instead of selfishness. When you practice self-control instead of indulgence. You become rare. And rarity is valuable. But most people want the result without the process. They want to be valued without becoming valuable. They want respect without responsibility. They want the rewards of discipline without the pain of discipline. And that's why they never have it. Because life doesn't work that way. Nature doesn't work that way. If you want the fruit, you have to plant the tree. You have to water it. You have to wait for it to grow. So stop asking, why don't they value me? That question puts you in a position of weakness because it assumes value is in their hands. It's not. It's in yours. Instead, ask, how can I become the kind of person who cannot be ignored? That question puts you back in control. And the answer is always the same. By building yourself. By mastering yourself. By becoming so good that they have no choice but to notice. Think about the strongest people in history, the leaders, the thinkers, the warriors, the creators. Do you think they sat around hoping people would value them? No. They were too busy becoming great. They were too focused on their craft, their mission, their character. And because they focused on becoming, value followed them. Respect followed them. Influence followed them. But they never chased it. This is the paradox. The more you chase value, the further it runs. The more you demand respect, the less you get. But when you focus on becoming, on creating, on living by principles, value comes to you naturally. You don't have to force it. You don't have to beg for it. You don't even have to ask for it. It gravitates toward you because people are drawn to strength, competence, and integrity. So what does this look like in practical terms? It means waking up every day with a mission. It means asking yourself, what can I do today to improve myself? Maybe it's reading instead of scrolling, training instead of sleeping in, working on your craft instead of wasting time on distractions. It means saying no to things that compromise your principles, even when it costs you comfort or approval. It means building habits that shape your character, not destroy it. And when you live this way consistently, something changes. You stop feeling anxious about what others think because your value no longer depends on them. You stop comparing yourself to others because your focus is on your own growth. You stop chasing validation because you have internal validation, the kind that comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your values. That's what Marcus Aurelius meant. Stop talking about what a good man should be. Stop debating what virtue is. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission. Just be one. Start living it. Start practicing it. Because in the end, value is not something you talk about. It's something you live. And when you live it, you don't need to demand respect. It comes naturally. You don't need to seek validation. It finds you. You don't need to prove anything. Your life becomes the proof. That is the Stoic reminder. Value is self-created. It's built in silence, through action, through discipline, through character. So waste no more time. Stop chasing. Stop arguing. Start becoming. And watch the world respond. Not because you asked, but because you earned it. Respect is not something you ask for. It is not something you demand. It is something you earn through who you become. And when you truly understand this, everything about how you live your life changes. We live in a world where everyone wants recognition. People want to be appreciated, admired, and treated with importance. But very few are willing to do the work required to deserve that respect. They want the crown without carrying the weight. They want the title without the discipline. But the truth is harsh. If you want to be valued, you must first become valuable. Think about it. Why should anyone respect you? Why should anyone admire you? Why should anyone treat you like a leader, a person of influence, or someone of importance? These things are not given freely. They are earned through strength, character, and contribution. People do not follow words. They follow examples. They follow actions. They follow results. When you see a man who commands respect without even asking for it, it's not because he shouted the loudest or begged for attention. It's because he became something rare. He became disciplined in a world of weakness. He became focused in a world of distraction. He became competent in a world of mediocrity. And because of that, people naturally gravitated toward him. This is the truth about respect. The more you chase it, the more it runs from you. The more you demand it, the less you get. Why? Because asking for respect signals that you don't truly have it. Real respect is silent. It doesn't need to announce itself. It radiates from within, and people feel it without a single word. So how do you reach that point? By building value. And building value starts with you, your habits, your mindset, your standards. The man who wins respect is the man who does what others will not do. He trains when others quit. He learns when others waste time. He sets boundaries when others settle for less. He chooses growth over comfort, principle over popularity, and purpose over distraction. If you want to lead, don't ask people to follow. Become someone worth following. People don't follow orders. They follow strength. They follow vision. They follow consistency. They follow someone who lives by the standards they talk about. If you tell others to respect you, but you live without self-control, without discipline, without integrity, why would they? Leadership starts with self-leadership. Influence begins with self-mastery. The truth is simple. You cannot fake value. You cannot fake strength. You cannot fake character. You either have it or you don't. And the only way to have it is through work, relentless, consistent work on yourself. The kind of work most people will never do. The kind of work that doesn't show up immediately but compounds over time. Because value is built, not bought. When you start building yourself, your mind, your body, your craft, your discipline, people notice. They notice because you stand out in a world of weakness. You stand out in a world where most people talk but never act. You become the rare man who actually does what he says he will do. And that makes you powerful. That makes you magnetic. That makes you respected without even asking for it. The man in the visual, the one now respected, leading without asking for validation. He wasn't always that way. He was ignored once. He was overlooked once. He was ordinary once. But he made a choice to stop begging and start building, to stop chasing and start becoming. And that choice changed everything. Respect is not an accident. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's built every day through decisions. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you build respect. Every time you choose principle over approval, you build respect. Every time you keep your word when it would be easier to quit, you build respect. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens inevitably because value cannot be hidden. People will always be drawn to strength. They will always admire those who hold themselves to high standards. They will always follow those who have direction and purpose. Why? Because most people don't have it themselves. They crave what they lack. And when you become the man who embodies what they desire, confidence, competence, composure, you don't need to ask for respect. It comes to you naturally. But here's the warning. The moment you start doing it for validation, you lose. Because now you're back to chasing approval instead of living by principles. True power is built on independence, on not needing external validation to feel worthy. You build for yourself first. You grow because growth is who you are, not because you want applause. Respect becomes the byproduct, not the goal. So ask yourself, are you spending your life trying to be liked, or are you building a life that commands respect? There is a difference. Being liked is easy. You just say yes to everything, follow the crowd, avoid confrontation. But that's weakness, and weakness is never valued. Being respected requires strength. The strength to say no, to stand alone, to demand more from yourself than anyone else ever could. This is your final message. Respect is not given. It is built. And you build it by becoming the person worth valuing. Start today. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Stop waiting for the right moment. Stop waiting for the world to hand you what only you can create. Build discipline. Build competence. Build integrity. Build strength. Build value. Because when you build value, everything else follows. Influence follows. Opportunities follow. Respect follows. But they follow you because you lead yourself first. That is the law. That is the truth. That is the only way. So make the choice. The choice to stop begging. The choice to stop chasing. The choice to stop waiting. The choice to start building. Because when you do, you won't need to demand respect. You'll become the gravity that pulls it toward you. And that is real power. Start today. Build discipline. Build value. Build respect. The world doesn't need more talkers. It needs men of action. Be that man. Become valuable, and you will always be valued.